afternoon, everyone, and welcome to Stock Market Today. Ali Corman, Ed Carson here with the breakdown of the action in today's session. And it looks like the rally hit a little bit of resistance today, Ed.
Yeah, we stalled a little bit out there. Tuesday morning's gains faded off a little bit, but we're going to take a look at a few stocks that either went up a lot or went down a lot. We had Intuitive Surgical, S&P Global, and then Upstart was in a little bit of a downtrend.
Okay, well, we'll take a look at those first, checking in on the major indexes. So here is the Nasdaq Composite today, gaining just a hair here, less than 0.1%. Same for the Dow. We also had the S&P 500 up about 0.2% today, and the Russell 2000 taking a hit, down about 0.6%. So the Nasdaq here hitting a bit of resistance near its prior highs from early September.
Yeah, it's not a surprise to see resistance here. I mean, we're at new highs. A lot of the leading stocks have risen up a lot, whether it's Tesla or a lot of these other names. So to have a pullback isn't the biggest issue. This is basically, looks like a stalling day. It's not confirmed, but a higher volume day where you come up and then basically give up all the gains. For those who remember, March 10th, 2000, that was actually a stalling day. I'm not calling for the gigantic 3-year bear market. I'm just saying that sometimes bad days, are stalling days rather than reversals.
Okay, well, we will keep an eye out for the action to see if we can get above that September high or if we continue to see that resistance. And now let's take a quick look at the S&P 500 and Dow, because we've seen the S&P already in new high territory. So not quite the same resistance here for the S&P, although it did end up fading by session's close, and same for the Dow, also still in new high territory. Quick check on the IWM ETF, which tracks Russell 2000. So we see a downside reversal here for small caps today. But Ed, as we've been saying, it's the big earnings week this week. Alphabet's results out after the close. We'll have to keep tabs on that one to see what that early initial reaction is to the quarterly report. But could these big reports this week help fuel the Nasdaq past this area of resistance?
Yeah, absolutely. And that's one reason why you might have paused. It's like we're going, wait a second, what are we doing here? Making these big bets on the longs when Microsoft, Google, AMD, and a bunch of others reporting today, and Apple, and and Amazon on Thursday, and on and on and on. So pausing, and into these results makes a lot of sense. So, and it's just one day. I mean, take a break for a little bit wouldn't be the worst thing for the indexes or some of the leading stocks.
All right. Well, we'll have to see what the rest of the week brings with all of those reports. And we'll be all over covering all of those names that you mentioned after the close now, as we await the numbers and into tomorrow's session. But let's take a look underneath the surface with Intuitive Surgical, ISRG, presenting an early entry today. The stock gaining about 1.5%. We had earnings last week, Ed, the stock getting a little bit of a bump on those results. Today's volume wasn't above average, but can we kind of excuse it if we've seen recent days with above average volume?
Yeah, I mean, obviously you'd really like to see it all come together. I mean, let's face it, you want to see that. But on the other hand, yeah, I mean, we've had a number of up days. Medical products are doing reasonably well. It's one of the quietly they've done well. I mean, quietly, some of them came off like ISRG did, but they seem to be mounting a comeback. Earnings are out of the way. The volume was down earlier and actually held up pretty well. Actually came up. So it actually, because when I was looking at it earlier, it was down like 30% versus, and so it came on later in the day. So, something to watch for some of these medical products names, and some of them are reporting later this week, that the growth stocks growth tech stocks aren't the only thing you want to be handling, because there's energy, there's medical products, there's transportation. A lot of things are doing well, even when some of the leaders pull back.
So with Intuitive Surgical getting back above its 50-day line, and on the weekly chart, now back above the 10-week line this week, and clearing resistance right around or just under that round number at 350, presenting an early opportunity here. You don't have to wait for the stock to break out of this flat base to start building a position if you need a bit of that exposure to the medical equipment area.
Yeah, and with the rotations coming in so much in 2021, it's all been, not all been about, but early entry should definitely be part of your arsenal.
Yes. And what about SPGI, S&P Global, up today on its earnings report, gaining almost 4% volume, more than double average here. So Ed, what do you make of this breakout? Will it stick?
I mean, it was a pretty strong breakout. I mean, obviously this wasn't a sector that was getting hit hard, but it's nice to see this breakout. There actually were a number of breakouts, just traditional breakouts today. This was actually, it's not a long-term leader, but it's in the realm. I think it was either on it or one of these on the wait list. And so if you look on a monthly even, you can see how this stock has had a strong record of outperformance. There was some weakness in 2020, which is probably, it finally sort of broke a trend line, but it's had a pretty strong record over a number of years. So, this one isn't maybe going to be screaming and you're not going to be hearing big, headlines about this one, but has tended to perform pretty darn well over time.
And what also helps it get in that realm of the long-term leaders, in addition to that, price outperformance over the long term, is its earnings growth rate and earnings stability. So we have an earnings stability of 3 here, and the lower the better. So that means that over the long run, it's producing very stable earnings here and a multi-year earnings growth rate of 21%. So that is quite healthy there, Ed. And we have that RS line blue dot.
Yeah, that's a great point. That's a great point. So there's a lot of things that are nice about this stock.
Okay, good choice there to highlight, Ed. And Upstart, more like a down stop today here with a loss of about 9%, an uptick in volume, now below its 21-day line. The most it's been below the 21-day line in quite a while here, Ed.
Yeah, it did recover off lows. So, it's not the worst, but it's back below the top of a short consolidation. Some people are seeing this as a high tight flag. So if you bought off of that, you're down. You saw a pretty good gain get wiped out. I mean, maybe if you bought really early, it's okay. I mean, people who bought at the prior earnings report, they can still hold this. They might decide, it's getting through there. I'm not sure. It's getting through the 21-day line. That's sort of like a sell. That could be an early sell signal, just something to maybe lighten up. I mean, you could have sold on the way up, but you could sell some here. Don't have to. It's definitely the art of selling a leading stock. It did sort of find support around on the 10-week line or just above it on a weekly chart. Didn't quite get there. So I can see why somebody would say, I'm looking at the weekly chart. This isn't so bad.
Yeah.
But it's obviously been on a tremendous run, and it would not be a surprise to see it pause and maybe have to form a longer base.
Yeah, to form a base here. And yeah, you're right. If you did get in on that last earnings report, that gap up within the base there, you could use a decisive close below the 10-week as your sell signal. Scaling out though, we always say how selling doesn't have to be an all or nothing decision. But oftentimes we do see when a stock closes by the end of the week, 2% or more below that 10-week line, that could mean that either the move is over, or at the very least, it needs time to build a base. Not always though, because we saw with, what was it? Cloudflare, ticker NET, it just popped right back up after a decisive break below its 10-week line. So we'll keep an eye out to see if Upstart does trigger any sell signals, other sell signals, or if it can hold that 10-week line. But a good update there, Ed. All right, everyone, that is it for today's show. Thank you so much for tuning in, and make sure to watch IBD Live tomorrow, where we will be joined by Mark Minervini. He is going to break down the stocks that he's watching, his take on market conditions, and so much more. So we hope you join us at investors.com/IBD Live tomorrow morning for that, starting at 9:20 a.m. Eastern and 6:20 a.m. Pacific. Thanks for tuning in, guys, and we'll see you here tomorrow.